01. No TV show dares to act like this. Recently, Taiwan province of China reported a case. An 18-year-old boy fell to his death after inheriting a NT $500 million house. But when I collected the whole story of this case with curiosity, I found that the plot inside was too bloody and shocking. Let me summarize the case for you. There is an 18-year-old boy in Taiwan, Xiao Lai, who recently inherited 30 properties from his father, worth nearly NT $500 million. This news, for everyone, is as lucky as a Zyway star from the sky. Xiao Lai is no exception. He happily entrusted the matter of property transfer to a real estate manager surnamed Xia. However, something unexpected happened. On May 4th, Xiao Lai suddenly registered same-sex marriage with Xiao Xia, the son of the manager named Xia. Who is this Xia? Did he know Xiao Lai before? Why did you get married all of a sudden? Before these problems could be clarified, Xiao Lai fell to his death from the 10th floor just 2 hours after they registered their marriage. This series of events happened too suddenly, too unexpected. How did Xiao Lai die? Suicide, or murder? On May 19th, Xiao Lai's mother appeared at a press conference on the case. She is fully armed, wearing a mask and sunglasses, which are tightly covered. She revealed a few things to the public. 1. Before that, she never knew that her son was going to register for marriage. 2nd, she suspected that her son was murdered because he owned hundreds of millions of real estate. At the press conference, the lawyer entrusted by Xiao Lai's mother also added that it has been confirmed that Xiao Lai has always been heterosexual, so marrying the same sex is too suspicious, and they have reason to suspect that he did not commit suicide. The forensic doctor also said, the deceased fell from the 10th floor, but there was little blood on the scene, and only one hand was broken on the body, while other body parts were intact, and the way of death was strange. The forensic doctor said that he had never seen a person who fell from the 10th floor, but his head was not broken. When the case came to this point, the spearhead was directed at the real estate agent Xiao's father and son. However, when the case entered the judicial stage, the agent Xia released his son on bail at NT $300,000. He stated that he had no knowledge of the whole case. What is the result? We have to wait for the investigation of the Taiwan police. However, if this incident is only the above part, it is not a bizarre case, and what really makes people feel bloody in this case is the next part. After Xiao Lai's death, someone went to dig into his life experience, but discovered a big secret. Xiao Lai's grandfather was engaged in rice milling in his early years. He has been married to his wife for 40 years and has 2 sons and 2 daughters. He is the son of his grandparents' second son. Xiao Lai's father is unable to fall in love and marry independently because of congenital mental illness. His grandfather helped him marry an Indonesian woman. However, a few years later, the woman will be divorced. The reason for the divorce was, she couldn't bear the sexual harassment from her father-in-law, Xiao Lai's grandfather. Not long after, Xiao Lai's grandfather helped his mentally handicapped second son marry a woman, who was Xiao Lai's biological mother. However, in the second year of Xiao Lai's mother's marriage, one day when my grandmother came back from a trip, she heard something strange in the house. She picked up the stool and observed from above, but saw a shameful and angry scene. Her own husband is having an affair with his daughter-in-law. This incident completely challenged human relations and trampled on the bottom line of morality. However, the Lai family's grandmother did not know what kind of psychology, even though she had been caught many times, she still swallowed her anger. Until a few years later, the daughter-in-law gave birth to a son, and she found that this child was completely different from her second son. Moreover, the behavior of Lai's grandfather was very abnormal. After the child was born, he transferred all the properties under his own name to the child's name little by little. At that time, Xiao Lai was less than 2 years old. This made Lai's grandmother suspicious. She secretly took her grandson's saliva for DNA testing, only to discover a shocking secret. This child was not born to his daughter-in-law and son, but to his daughter-in-law and father-in-law. The person Xiao Lai should call grandpa is actually his biological father. It's just outrageous. Open the door for outrageous incredible is home. More explosions are coming. After Lai's grandmother discovered the secret, she decided not to endure it anymore. She reported the fact that her husband and daughter-in-law had committed adultery, and both parties were sentenced to 3 months in prison by law. However, they still do not know how to repent. The grandmother of the Lai family complained that before the husband committed adultery with his wife, the 3 generations of their children and grandchildren lived together happily. After Lai's grandfather was accused of adultery with his wife, he became furious and drove his wife, children, and grandson out of the house. As soon as the 2 parties met, they would be insulted or beaten by the Lai family's grandfather, and the family relationship once dropped to freezing point. In 2009, the second son of the Lai family passed away. The grandfather of the Lai family transferred Xiao Lai's household registration to his own name, making him his legitimate son. From then on, this grandson in name became his real son, who was loved and loved by Chen Huan at his knees. And when Xiao Lai was 18 years old, he handed over all the properties under his name to Xiao Lai to inherit. Unexpectedly, Xiao Lai, who held hundreds of millions of assets in his hand, immediately married the same sex, and unfortunately died 2 hours after the marriage. Whether Xiao Lai was murdered because of those 30 properties, this point still has to wait for the police to give a response. However, what is certain is that Xiao Lai's grandfather and mother are the source of the crime in this matter. It is because of their infidelity that the child's life experience makes people laugh and cry. And the grandfather of the Lai family caused trouble for him because he spoiled the child born in an affair too much and gave him a lot of wealth. It's like a child with extremely weak ability, walking around the street holding a piece of peerless beautiful jade. How can he not be coveted by others? If this is a normal family, and the elders distribute their property equally to each descendant, they will not be separated from the family, and the children will not die unexpectedly. As Lai's relatives put it, the whole thing was done by the adults, and the children are so innocent. Since ancient times, adultery has killed people. Extramarital affairs are the product of distorted values and ethics. It broke away from the public order and good customs of the world, and ran all the way on a wrong track. It is the embodiment of selfishness, greed, and desire. Once people indulge their emotional greed, they will become impulsive and lose their minds. In the end, the injuries and killings caused by adultery will follow. 02. On May 19, a man in Zhenjiang, Jiangsu was sentenced to death. As early as 2017, a man named Han met a woman surnamed Gu, and soon developed an extramarital relationship. They agreed that after Xiao Gu divorced her husband, they would get married. But Han waited and waited, but what he waited for was not the news of Xiao Gu's divorce, but Xiao Gu's proposal to break up with him. Han, who held a grudge, couldn't bear this fact at all. He couldn't accept Xiao Gu's betrayal. So, on April 13, 2019, he put a bed sheet and quilt cover in the car for protection, faked a traffic accident, and killed Xiao Gu and her daughter by driving. In the end, Han was also sentenced to death. An extramarital affair, 2 culprits, and 3 lives. It's a pity to think about it. In 2017, Li, a Guangdong man, lived with a married woman surnamed Yang illegally. After Yang's husband discovered their improper relationship, he and Yang's husband had a big fight, and the two had conflicts. Later, the conflict between the two escalated. Li carried a fruit knife and brutally killed Yang's husband while he was asleep. In the end, Li was sentenced to death. There is also the extramarital affair murder case in Chengdu, Sichuan, and so on. Have you ever noticed that most of these extramarital affairs end up with nothing, or ruined families and imprisonment? Gambling lives and steals, rape lives and kills. Many things, how you get, will be lost in the same way. Regarding extramarital affairs, someone once described it like this. An affair is like buying a stock. Idiots know how to start it, but few end it safely. This is because, when caught in an extramarital affair, people will easily enter a state of emotional madness. They have two emotions of mania and anxiety alternating in their hearts. Make decisions that you regret for the rest of your life. There is a term in psychology called anger arousal. It means that people will easily behave abnormally under extreme emotions. The taboo and stimulation of extramarital affairs undoubtedly activate emotional fluctuations and make people become extreme. Therefore, we found that in many extramarital affairs, love turns into hatred, and finally leads to killing. It's like driving a car. If the steering wheel is off the track, you can correct it a little bit, but when you find that the steering wheel is off the track and let yourself run wildly on the road of desire, you will eventually encounter backlash. There is a saying that is good, the way of heaven is reincarnation. Who do you think the sky will spare? There are many extramarital affairs, and many people do all kinds of morally corrupt things. In fact, they will suffer retribution. The karma of reincarnation mentioned by Buddhism is such a truth. When you plant the karma of evil, you will receive the karma result of punishment. The evil in this world must be conserved. Remember, people are doing it, and the sky is watching. Don't think that the gods don't know it. When you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. P.S. In the era of fragmentation, writing is even more difficult. Welcome to give us a like plus looking at the end of the article. Your support is the driving force for us to move forward. Material source. The paper, an 18-year-old man with a net worth of 500 million yuan in Taizhou fell to his death. His father-in-law and daughter-in-law gave birth to him and received 30 properties. Taboo news, major suspects. Taiwan's worth 500 million high-ranking three men fell to their death 2 hours after getting married, and the husband responded for the first time. Yangchen Evening News, an 18-year-old boy fell to his death after inheriting 30 properties, and his identity was revealed. Forensic medicine, strange ways to die. One. Recently, a 30-year-old single mother on Zaihongshu became popular. Ordinary, she works alone and takes care of her baby. Her income is not high, and every cent has to be counted. Excluding fixed expenses such as rent, she can only leave 600 yuan a month for food expenses for herself and her children. On her own account, she records the daily dinners she and her children have. Despite the financial difficulties, she still tried her best to make her children have balanced nutrition and good food and drink. Everyone has the right to record their own lives, and if they don't like to watch it, they don't. But some people are colder than you can imagine. One day, when she posted the dinner as usual, some high-ranking people appeared. Someone posted a picture of a big meal in a hotel under the photo of a blogger who posted a picture of meat and vegetables with the caption "The days will definitely last," with the caption, "My mother and I had breakfast at the hotel." Another netizen even posted 2 pictures of sumptuous meals for her children under her dinner. I could smell the tea smell thousands of kilometers away. And I flipped forward to her comment area, and the superiority of netizens seemed to overflow the screen. Bloggers have to spend 600 yuan a month on meals. And the people below are showing off. My daughter and I have at least 3,000 a week. I don't know what to eat for 1W. I don't have enough for 5W. The blogger does her best every day within her ability to let her children eat better, but people in the comment area criticize her. It's really sad to watch. Yes, she failed to provide a favorable condition for the child. But who cares what she went through? When she got married, she also had a house and a car, and she was full of hope for the future. But who would have thought that she would meet a husband who is a gambler, and her life would undergo a drastic change? Because of their debts, they lost all their houses and cars, and they were also burdened with 700,000 yuan in gambling debts. Why is she so embarrassed now? It was because during the divorce, she was forced to bear a debt of 200,000 yuan in order to obtain custody of the child. For the sake of the child, she endured all this. No matter how difficult the day is, we must carry on with our children. However, it is really embarrassing to try your best to be judged morally by netizens. In fact, there is nothing wrong with you posting your exquisite life. The question is why you post it under the embarrassment of others. Do you want the mother of the child to say that she is envious? Or let the mother of the child reflect? It's like ostentatiously showing off your pockets full of money in front of someone who has gone broke overnight and is on the verge of despair. The sense of superiority is overwhelming, and it is so out of date that it is annoying. Their behavior reminded me of a sentence Zhenming said. Self-confidence means that I feel that I am good. And the sense of superiority is that I feel that I am better than you. Some people have a poor heart and can only satisfy themselves by suppressing others. Little do they know that truly confident people never put their sense of superiority on their faces. 2. In fact, in many cases, the more inferior a person is, the more deliberate he is. People with low self-esteem are more prone to sensitivity. Earlier, an internet celebrity went to Shanghai Bulgari's restaurant to check in a gorgeous and exquisite dress. When I was taking a crazy selfie with my little sister, a man wearing a vest and slippers behind him was also photographed. Perhaps because she felt that he had polluted her exquisite and high-end photos, she complained in a post, "Hee hee, vests and shorts are also allowed in." I think we have to give other guests in the restaurant a free order. With that distraught look, a sense of superiority overflowed. However, netizens revealed that the man wearing a vest and slippers owns a 190 million two-story villa by the Suzhou River. If you come to check in once in a while when you are well dressed, it will be posted on all social platforms. It is just a cafeteria where people go downstairs to have a light meal. Because I don't care, I can wear whatever I want. The overturned internet celebrity was ruined because she judged people by their appearance. What's more, the inferiority complex deep in her heart always needs to be covered up by some delicate external objects. This reminds me of a female star who was laughed at in public on the show. Because she ate caviar for the first time and didn't know how to eat it, she was ridiculed by male stars many times. The male star has been staring at her, repeating the criticism. You know, that's how caviar is eaten. Shall I get you a bowl of rice? Okay. Are you chewing melon seeds? It's just a serving of caviar, even if you understand it, why are you so condescending? But sometimes, the sense of superiority deliberately created must be reflected by suppressing others. Just like a netizen mentioned in a post, I posted a photo of visiting Sam in Moments, and was ridiculed by my colleagues. This is the first time visiting Sam. So poor. It's just a restaurant, a food, and a supermarket. How can people be classified into different classes? It's just that the more a person lacks something, the more he cares about something, and the more he emphasizes something. The more you need to package yourself in various ways, the more you can feel superior to others. But in many cases, the more you try to show off, the more you can expose the virtual deep in your heart. Just like the celebrity group that was popular all over the internet before. A group of girls posted all kinds of high-end photos on Moments, but it turned out that they were single celebrities. In severe cases, 63 people put together a single pair of stockings to take a photo, resulting in dozens of very infections. In their shallow cognition, this is the way to enter the upper class, which can distinguish themselves from some ordinary people. However, sometimes it seems deliberate and mean to use packaging to elevate yourself and demean others. It is written in Osho's works, superiority is nothing but inferiority complex walking upside down. What they show off is essentially hoping to get a sense of satisfaction from being noticed and affirmed by relying on these tall labels. But sometimes the more deliberate you are, the more people will see your poverty. The more self-confessed you are, the less respect you get from others. Zhuge said, don't be a bitch because of your body. Don't be elated when others are down. Really good people never write their sense of superiority on their faces. I will not show off my brilliance, consume the pain of others, let alone laugh at others' embarrassment. Because of self-esteem, so know how to respect. Because of respect, I am willing to empathize. 3. In fact, a person's true character has nothing to do with wealth or poverty. Wang Baoqian once talked about the embarrassing incidents in the early days of his debut. In 2003, backstage at the Golden Horse Awards, Wang Baoqian saw the censor faucet for the first time in the toilet. He didn't know how to get out of the water at all, and it happened that Andy Lau was beside him at this moment. At that time, they did not know each other. He is just a newcomer who just made his debut with Blind Well. And Andy Lau has long been a big star known all over the country. He was at a loss in embarrassment. But Andy Lau had already observed this scene. He remained calm, and very naturally put his hand under the censor faucet, and taught him how to operate it. Maybe Andy Lau didn't remember the scene at all, because it might just be his subconscious expression of kindness. But Wang Baoqian remembered it for many years. Because he has been struggling at the bottom of society for a long time, he has suffered countless suppressions and humiliations. That time, I really felt respected. Sometimes, a sad reality is, stepping on each other at the bottom is the most authentic appearance of the real world. The college student who called the delivery man a low-level pig. The little leader who threw the employee's ID card directly on the ground. Suppression in life often has nothing to do with wealth, education, or status, but comes from a lack of education and empathy. Sometimes, the more you see the world, the more you realize how small you are. On the contrary, those who are half full of dissatisfaction can only maintain their little sense of superiority by trampling on the dignity of others. But it was only later that I realized that in the world of adults, who is not a survivor? Everyone is a link in the chain of contempt when you look down on others. So why kill each other? Really strong people, because they have enough insight, their hearts are stable and strong enough. They know that there are people who are superior to others, and they never show their superiority on their faces. They understand that life is impermanent, so they will have enough compassion. This is a kind of empathy. It is a kind of heart-to-heart respect. 4. Don't sigh that the world is heavy with frost and dew, and have a warm heart in dealing with things. Don't get lost in shallow vanity, live in your own reality. In the corner you can't see, there are people living another life in this world. Maybe better than you, maybe weaker than you. When you don't want to be despised and ridiculed by others, you must first learn to be sympathetic to others' difficulties. A truly outstanding person does not write his sense of superiority on his face, but always acts as a wake-up call. Restrict your speech and behavior. In a high position, don't forget to respect others more. In a low position, don't forget to leave yourself a piece of self-esteem. When people live in this world, they must leave a dignity for themselves and others. The most taboo thing in life is the sense of class superiority. Only those who know how to respect can win respect. This man is not simple. He made immortal feats in the revolutionary era. He was Sun Qingling's personal bodyguard, and later became the chairman of the military commission of our army. He laughed 3 times when he was shot. In 1917, after Zhongshan became the Grand Marshal of the Navy and Army, he decided to send troops to crusade against the Beiyang warlords. This is the famous Dharma Protection Movement. During the Dharma Protection Movement, Mr. Zhongshan specially hired a 25-year-old young man as the adjutant of the guard for himself and his wife Sun Qingling. In fact, he was Zhongshan and Sun Qingling's personal bodyguard. The 25-year-old young man is named Yang Yin. Yang Yin, born in August 1892, was born in Zhongshan, Guangdong. His cousin Yang Heling was a classmate of Mr. Zhongshan and had a very close relationship with him. Influenced by her uncle, Yang Yin admired Zhongshan very much since she was a child. When Zhongshan led the revolution that overthrew the Qing dynasty, every time he returned home from overseas, his cousin Yang Heling always took Yang Yin to see him. Zhongshan explained many revolutionary principles to Yang Yin, which greatly inspired him. Yang Yin learned Shaolin boxing when he was young, and he is a master of martial arts. In 1911, Yang Yin joined the Tongmenghui led by Zhongshan. After joining the Tongmenghui, Yang Yin made many military exploits. After Yuan Shikai became the president of the Republic of China, he appointed Zheng Ru as the guardian of Shanghai and the rank of admiral. In 1914, Zheng Rushan was seriously injured by a bomb thrown by 22-year-old Yang Yin during his tour. From then on, Yang Yin became famous all over the world, and Mr. Zhongshan also valued and trusted this little neighbor even more. In 1917, 25-year-old Yang Yin served as the adjutant of Mr. Sun Yat-sen's military government guard in Guangzhou, as well as the staff of the Generalissimo's office, and also the personal bodyguard of Mr. Sun Yat-sen and Sun Qingling. After the failure of the Dharma Protection Movement, Yang Yin escorted the Zhongshan couple out of the predicament. After 1919, various trends of thought spread widely in Guangdong. Yang Yin bought progressive books such as ABC and Manifesto on the street, which opened his eyes. Soon after, Yang Yin joined the party. He was also sent to the Soviet Union to visit and study. After returning to China, Yang Yin was mainly engaged in the labor movement. He once organized and led the general strikes of workers in Guangzhou and Hong Kong. In December 1927, he participated in leading the Guangzhou Uprising. On June 18, 1928, at the 6th National Congress, Yang Yin was elected as a member of the Central Committee, an alternate member of the Political Bureau, and an alternate member of the Standing Committee. In order to strengthen military work, the 6th National Congress decided to restore the Central Military Department, with Yang Yin as the minister, chairman of the Military Commission, and members including Yang Yin, Inlay, Xianying, Yan Changji, Pen Pai, and Guan Xianying. At that time, the central government clearly stated in the outline of the current military work plan that the Ministry of Military Affairs is the highest military leading body. In 1929, Yang Yin, then Minister of Military Affairs, Chairman of the Military Commission, asked Bai Xian to serve as Comrade Pen Pai's secretary. However, this Bai Xian was a coward who was frightened by Chiang Kai-shek's white terror and lost confidence in the future of the revolution. Chiang Kai-shek bought Bai Xian over with a small car, 50,000 oceans, and an important position as governor. On August 24, 1929, Bai Xian received an instruction from Penpai, at 3 p.m., hold a meeting of the military commission at Bai Xian's home. Bai Xian estimated that Enlai, Yang Yin, Penpai, and other important officials would attend the meeting, thinking that this would be a good opportunity to gain glory and wealth, and then went out to inform Chiang Kai-shek's secret plans on the basis of a stomach attack. At 4 p.m. that day, Yang Yin, Penpai, Zhang Jishan, Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Federation of Trade Unions, Yan Changji, member of the Military Commission, and Xin Shichen, head of the soldier movement, gathered for a meeting on the second floor of Bai Xian's house at number 12, Jingyuan Li, Yuxi News Road. The spies with Chiang Kai-shek surrounded his house on all sides. After Yang Yin, Penpai, and other important leaders were arrested, they were detained in the Xinzha arrest cell. During the interrogation, the inspectors and Chiang Kai-shek's spies asked Yang Yin, "Mr. Yang, you are a member of the Old Alliance. You once overthrew the Qing dynasty with the father of the country, Zhongshan, and assassinated Zheng Roshan. Contributors. As long as you change your mind and return to the Kuomintang team, Commander-in-Chief Zhang will not treat you badly. High-ranking officials and rich salary, riches, and honors, you can enjoy it endlessly." Yang Yin laughed loudly. This Chiang Kai-shek betrayed Mr. Sun Yat-sen's three people's principles and slaughtered the workers and peasants. He is a group of scum who have brought disaster to the country and the people, and whose hands are stained with the blood of the revolutionary masses. Chiang Kai-shek ran counter to Mr. Sun and discredited Mr. Sun. "I am a strong man. Are you willing to join forces with Jiang's scum? Surrender?" "Absolutely not." At that time, someone considered Yang Yin's unusual relationship with Mr. Sun Yat-sen and Mrs. Sun, as well as his prestige at the time, and asked Chiang Kai-shek how to deal with it. "Commander-in-Chief, this Yang Yin is very stubborn. Mrs. Sun's personal bodyguard has a lot of connections. How should I deal with it?" After pondering for a while, Chiang Kai-shek knew the appeal of Yang Yin and Penpai among the workers and peasants. He said, "If you stay here, you will be troubled later. Kill them. Shoot them." On August 30th, Chiang Kai-shek personally ordered the shooting of Penpai, Yang Yin, Yan Changji, Xin Shichen and other comrades. When he was escorted to the execution ground, before his execution, Yang Yin calmed down, laughed 3 times, and generously said to his inmates, "If you hear the Tao in the morning, you can die in the evening." After chanting the slogan, Yang Yin died heroically at the age of 37. The famous Sang Hongyang 3 questions has been floating over the empire like a ghost for thousands of years. Because I wanted to understand the economic system under the centralized system in ancient China, I started reading salt and iron theory. Let me first talk about the background of the theory of salt and iron. In the 6th year of the Western Han Dynasty, 81 years ago, the social contradictions were extremely sharp. The empire needed to get out of the predicament, so it held a debate conference. The core topics of the debate included national income, national currency, and finance, industrial policy, foreign trade, etc. These issues belong to the category of macroeconomics today, so the theme of this meeting is where should the macroeconomic policies of the Han Empire go? The pros and cons of general debates are generally equal in number. But the strange thing about this meeting is that Sang Hongyang is the main party on the front side, while there are as many as 60 people on the other side, most of whom belong to well-known scholars in various fields. The proportion of pros and cons is seriously unequal, and it can be said to be one of the most unequal debate meetings. Although Sang Hongyang has a great aura, he is still very passive in the face of so many people besieging. The policy was formulated by Sang Hongyang and others, but there are many opponents. It is actually a criticism meeting against Sang Hongyang. All the macroeconomic and social problems in China are all attributed to the policies formulated by Sang Hongyang. When one party blamed him, Sang Hongyang had no choice but to bite the bullet and go to the forum, feeling a bit like talking against the Confucians. This is like the debate between China's finance minister and central bank governor today, and independent economists, university professors, and the most famous economists of various factions in China. You may not believe it, but the conference started in February of the 6th year of the first Yuan dynasty, 81 BC, and closed in July of the same year. In other words, the debate runs from February to July of the lunar calendar, which can be called the longest macroeconomic policy debate in history. The debate ranged from macroeconomic policies such as monopoly of salt and iron, state-owned economic policy, calculation, and taxation, fiscal and taxation policy, equal output and equalization, macro control, to the foreign policy of main war or main peace, and whether Confucianism governs the country, or legalist governance, or Huanglao governance and other governance concepts, and whether the orientation of economic policy is an economic value orientation that emphasizes righteousness and profit, whether it should be based on industry and commerce or agriculture, and whether it should be based on yellow the old school, Confucian benevolence and righteousness to rule the world or to promote industry and commerce, and strict criminal laws. The issues involved cover a wide range of topics. In the next 2,000 years, the unified dynasties of the past dynasties all more or less followed the macroeconomic thinking of the Han Empire. However, in the more than 2,000 years since the Republic of China, there has never been a macroeconomic policy debate meeting with such great influence, wide range of topics, long duration, and rich academic achievements. It is no exaggeration to say that when discussing the concept of governance, 3 rural issues, state-owned economic reform, government function positioning, interest rate marketization, foreign trade, and other policies in China today, the shadow of the Salt and Iron Conference can still be found. Sang Hongyang raised the famous 3 questions of Sang Hongyang at the meeting, like a ghost that has been floating over the empire for thousands of years. 1. The operation of the empire requires huge financial expenditures, and the agricultural tax alone is not enough. If these systems are not implemented, where will the money come from? 2. In case of emergencies such as wars and famines, but the treasury is empty, what should we do? 3. If the central government does not form an overwhelming advantage over the local governments in various aspects such as finance, once the local forces expand and rebel, what should we do? In fact, the economic and social policies of more than one dynasty in China, not just the Western Han dynasty, have experienced a cycle of letting go receiving chaos. When the dynasty was first established, due to factors such as wars, the treasury was empty and the people's livelihood was dying. What should we do? Put. The dynasties usually adopt a policy of light corvée and low tax, and rest with the people to restore the economy. After decades to 100 years of recuperation, private wealth has continued to accumulate, giving the local government the confidence to resist the central government. At this time, the central government has to take measures to strengthen the centralization of power in all aspects, and to use more state-owned economy and tax increases in the economy. In the later period of the dynasty, the vitality of the folk economy was not enough, and the problems of people's livelihood became prominent. Coupled with various social problems such as political darkness and official corruption, the world would be in chaos. The Western Han dynasty, Tang dynasty, Northern Song dynasty, and the Republic of China all went through such a process, and so on and on and on and on and on. From this perspective, it is a high-impact but ineffective debate. The famous Sang Hongyang 3 questions has been floating over the empire like a ghost for thousands of years. Because I wanted to understand the economic system under the centralized system in ancient China.